Good afternoon. Welcome to our online approach to barber classes at CTS College of Business and Computer Science. I trust you guys are doing very well. I'm trying to set up, make sure you guys are seeing me, all right, as well as able to hear me as well. I'm seeing 12 participants so far, about 12 of you all. I'm seeing more entering the waiting room, so I'm trying to admit you all. Making sure I'm recording this video as well, so I can pass on to you. I can share this video for those who are unable to make it for your reviewing purposes. I know that you all are so accustomed to a joke by now, not so? Just to put the class at ease. So more people are entering. In fact, I'm getting more participation, right, from this virtual environment when compared to our face-to-face classrooms. Right, so I'm sharing my screen. I'm sharing my screen. So welcome, good afternoon, guys. Welcome again to our online session for International Human Resource Management. Right. So today what we are going to discuss, our release of coursework assignment number 2. So at this point in time, I know the team would have worked on coursework assignment number 1, the 30% PowerPoint slides. I had the opportunity of reviewing the slides, right, from a variety of groups, right, from a number of groups, and the particular presentation was well put together. I know during that time frame, the COVID-19 situation escalated. So despite those challenges, I thought the team did very well in terms of obeying the requirements of the assignment brief for coursework assignment number 1, obeying the marking scheme provided, as well as infusing the technical content. I saw some really good technical content, I may add, in the notes transcript, right? Judah, myself, and the process of uploading the group listing and so on to your international module leader and so on for assessment purposes. So I'm thinking a couple of weeks time, you guys will be able to get your assessment, right? In a couple of weeks time. So this afternoon, what we would like to go through, the assignment number 2, the individual essay. And I know the team would favor individual work as opposed to group working because of the rigors and challenges of group working. And it's a 2,000 word individual essay. So it's a 70% do or die, 2,000 words that it's a research-based assignment. And I'm looking at the assignment brief at a simple glance. I can safely say it is right up our alley in terms of what we have been discussing for the past couple of weeks as advanced by the course outline. In fact, it is quite similar, the assignment, and it's good news for us. The assignment is quite similar to previous assignments gone by, with some subtle modest changes and so on. So it is an entertaining assignment. It is a straightforward assignment. It was a predictable assignment. So this afternoon going forward, we would like to look at the assignment in detail to get you guys up and running in terms of your preparation. Now the assignment although it's straightforward, it's comprehensive in the sense that we must draw on all the units of the course outline. The assignment is all encompassing. So it includes the various topics and chapters that we would have discussed. So it's a really neat, well put together assignment. And we need to really, start our research as early as day one. I'm trusting that you guys would have had the opportunity to download the assignment brief from the CTS-UH portal, and you would have reviewed it and so on amidst our personal challenges and so on. So I'm sharing my screen right here in terms of a PowerPoint presentation which we have put together for this particular session on the assignment prep. And I just want to itemize what we are going through today. We are looking at reviewing the coursework assignment brief. We are reviewing the coursework assignment brief, right? And two, we are going to start the preparation work for the assignment, right? And we are also going to look at the Malaysian context. The Malaysian context is a particular aspect, right, of the assignment. I can see the excitement here, guys. And this is a favorite joke of ours. The assignment is the classes is this excitement is always in a one-way direction and one-way street. And literally, I can see you, but you guys cannot see me. Very shortly, I will experiment with this very cool software, and we can do some more active engagement. Yeah. So let's look at the assignment brief. I'm going to pull it up now, the assignment brief. So I'm sharing this IHRM coursework assignment 2, shared by your module leader. And they're trying to manage all these participants. Yeah, so individual report, as we said, the deadline for this assignment is April 29th, right? And the upload method is via Canvas, set by your international module leader, Dr. Dose Ubajaha. Right, it's a 70%, as we would have stated. Right, the learning outcomes for the assignment: 1, explain the major points of difference between domestic IHRM and international IHRM and international IHRM. 2, analyze and evaluate the contextual, cultural, and institutional explanations for various manifestations of IHRM across national borders. It moves on to 3, critically evaluate, and take note of the word critically phrase, critically evaluate the taking for granted HR and related concepts and practices through engaging in international comparison. Feedback and assessment criteria, that's at the end of the assignment brief. So let's look at the assignment requirements. The assignment title: formulate a pestle analysis for a British MNC, multinational corporation, establishing a subsidiary in Malaysia. Right? A British MNC establishing a subsidiary in Malaysia. Formulate a pestle analysis. Right? We will be aware of the strategic analysis to the pestle analysis. Right? The descent or heritage of the MNC is a British MNC establishing, so it's a newfound subsidiary in Malaysia. Description of the assignment: you are an independent external HR consultant. So you are to assume this role, right? So in terms of our classroom practice, underline guys, underline. Employ to advise the British MNC on what they would need to consider in order to establish a subsidiary in Malaysia. So you have to advise, you are a consultant advising possibly the board of directors on what issues they need to consider in order to establish a subsidiary in Malaysia. You are expected to write a 2,000-word academic report, right? 2,000 word plus or minus 10%. So that suggests around 2,200 words maximum, right? And the 2,000 words, as usual, standard practice will exclude the cover sheet, table of contents, appendices and references, and so on. The following are key, very important to note, and there are three important criteria that the assignment title must fulfill. You know, think of these three criteria as sub-questions linked to the assignment title, right? So as you complete the assignment, these three sub-questions must be answered. I will reiterate, these three sub-questions must be answered. What are the important factors multinational corporations have to consider when setting up of HR functions in different geographical locations internationally? So we all know that multinationals employ a diverse range of employees who are remotely located, right? The geographical makeup of a multinational corporation in terms of its workforce, right? Its workforce will consist of parent country nationals, right? Host country nationals, as well as third country nationals. So let's say you have a UK company like UK GlaxoSmithKline, and yeah, human resources are scattered in the subsidiaries in China, in India, in Kenya, right? In Malaysia, right? You would find that the makeup of the international workforce, right, will consist of, you know, parent country nationals, UK-based expatriates, right? Host country nationals, those employees in the particular location, probably Malaysia, as well as third country nationals, right? Outside nationalities who reside, right? Right, in that particular host country. And when I use the word outside, I mean, you know, those persons who are not UK nationals in this context, those who are not Malaysian nationals in this context. Two, critically analyze, and underline the command phrase, critically analyze which functions can be managed from headquarters and which functions can be local. Functions, when we use the word functions, we are speaking about human resource functions, right? So which functions can be managed from the headquarters of this British MNC back home in England, right? And those HR functions that can be managed in this context, the Malaysian context, which functions can be managed locally in the host country of Malaysia. Remember, Malaysia is the intended host country of this new subsidiary, right? Three, provide a rationale for your reasoning and the advantages of having a local focus in your chosen function. Provide a rationale for your reasoning and the advantages of having a local focus in your chosen function. All right, as we scroll down, any specific instructions, right? The coursework has been designed to be as wide-ranging as possible, both in terms of HR functions and offering students the opportunity to display their knowledge of cross-cultural issues, the roles of expatriates, and the role of national managers. It is not necessary for students to write about every factor that an MNC will take into consideration. So again, the crux of the assignment is to explore, discuss, critically evaluate the factors that an MNC, a British MNC, must decide upon when setting up a new subsidiary in the Malaysian context, right? With respect to, should the British MNC use parent company, British human resource functions in the host country, or should the British MNC employ and use Malaysian contexts and Malaysian styles of human resource functions in the host country where the subsidiary is located. It is not necessary for students to write about every factor, but to choose those which are critical to decisions. And that's an important point, because guys, as you do your research as an academic report, and as we traverse the material, the journal articles, all right, and the databases of, and so on, and textbooks, of course, you will realize that you would have identified about 10 to 20 factors that the MSc must take into consideration. By and large, 2,000 words, you can't discuss all of these 20 factors. You may have to choose the best 3 or the best 5, as we see here, right? As we see here. This offers students to write in depth on between 3 to 5 issues, rather than writing very little about many and failing to critically analyze the important issues and failing to analyze important issues in detail. Theoretical underpinning, right? Theoretical underpinning, the core text for this particular course is the Hollinshead, the International Comparative IHRM, chapter 4. So a particular chapter is identified in the Hollinshead, right? I know we may have some online access to this book at this point in time, right? And the Housing and Penitence International Human Resource Management, right? Part 2. So part 2 covers from chapter 7 to about chapter 10, I believe. 2 chapters in this book that must be covered, and I think we have an online PDF version of this book. Chapter 7, multinational companies and the host country environment, and then chapter 8, the transfer of employment practices across borders in multinational companies. Things that you may want to consider. So the examiner, through the assignment brief, is asking us, right, as you go about advising the board of directors of this British MNC on the particular issues that they have to consider in setting up this subsidiary in Malaysia, your report must include a discussion on these particular issues. And if you have your handout, your assignment brief in hard copy or in soft copy, please underline these key themes. Let's go through each one in turn. Sustainability. What risk factors will MNCs take into consideration when deciding to move into a foreign country? What risk factors will MNCs take into consideration when deciding to move into a foreign country? Right? Risk factors, the whole idea of sustainability, and we're going to explore these themes in detail. 2, Hofstede's theory and the notions of cultural familiarization and adaptation. This refers to Hofstede's cultural model, right, where he explored the national cultures of countries according to 5 dimensions, a model that we went through in class. The functions of IHRM, obviously, the functions of IHRM, like such as international recruitment, international payment systems, international collective bargaining, international performance management, right? International performance management, right? And how these functions are linked to what the British MNC will usually do back home in Great Britain, or what HR functions the new subsidiary might be given the autonomy to use in the Malaysian context. Cross-cultural issues, right? As we underline the theme cross-cultural issues, right? Ask yourself, is there a huge cultural gap? Is there a huge cultural dissonance between the British MNC and the intended new subsidiary Malaysia? What is the national culture of Malaysia? What is the national culture of Great Britain? Are the national cultures different? Are they similar? Are they alike in some respects? Right? So let's start thinking here. Great Britain is a first world nation, right? Malaysia is newly developing. Newly developing. Possibly we can start from there. So, as a casual tip, start using the Hofstede theory cultural dimensions to explore the national culture of Great Britain, national culture of Malaysia. Compare the two, right? Because the course emphasizes that HRM practices are swayed, are tainted by the national culture of particular countries. Yeah? Legal requirements and local processes. What is the nature, the constituent makeup and nature of human resources legislation in Malaysia, right? Right? If you look at the complement of human resources legislation in Malaysia, is employment law practice, right? Is Equality Act, is the Equality Act enforced? Equal opportunities, minimum wage, occupational safety and health. To what extent are these laws enforced or practiced? To what extent are these laws enforced or practiced in Malaysia? Are they similar to that of the of Great Britain? Are they different to that of Great Britain? Right? So this is where we start speaking. A particular theoretical model, right, that groups various factors that we should consider, right, is the four influences framework, right? The four influences framework. Four influences says four grouping of factors that a multinational must take into consideration when deciding what style or category of human resource practices should be adopted in a new subsidiary, in a new location. And we will go through this in brief detail. Application and discussion of the four multinational orientations or staffing strategies that we would have gone through: ethnocentrism, polycentrism, egocentrism, right? Geocentrism, a definition of host and local managers, right? A discussion of glocalization. Glocalization, and glocalization is a sort of hybrid approach to HRM functions where the multinational may decide to use a mixture of both British human resource functions or British tainted human resource functions and Malaysian human resource functions in the new subsidiary in Malaysia. So it's a sort of hybrid form of HRM strategy where both, right, where both British human resource functions and Malaysian tainted or styled human resource functions may be used in the intended new subsidiary. Where appropriate, better answers may discuss the specific issues of moving into a developing nation and the impacts of foreign direct investment. And that's very important for us to discuss, right? What are the pull forces in Malaysia that would have been lured, that would have attracted the British MNC to set up office, to set up shop in the Malaysian domestic business market, right? So what factors, right? What incentives, what appeal factors would have encouraged and lured and coaxed the British MNC to set up shop in Malaysia? And last one, Black's model of in-country adjustment. This is where we start speaking about adjustment issues, right, linked to ethnocentric style of staffing. So the mark scheme is attached, and if I may quickly go through the mark scheme with team, right, we're looking at the report, presentation structure, intellectual curiosity, quality of academic sources, the content, the terms, content mainly should include major points of reference, right? Major points of reference, business application, integration of data, discussion, analysis, critically analyze the related concepts, right? Critically analyze the related concepts. So I'm looking at it, and 10 marks for presentation, 10 marks for intellectual curiosity, 30 marks for content, 20 marks for business application, and then another 30 marks for discussion analysis. So 10 plus 10 is 20, 20 plus 30 is 50, 50 plus 20 is 70, 70 plus 30 is 100 marks overall. So it's 100 marks overall, and I am guessing a percentage will be fine out of 70, right? To give you a 70%. We only look at our level at what makes an excellent or outstanding. So outstanding presentation, outstanding selection of quality, outstanding exploration of the topic. So you have to show evidence that you have done not only the central reading, but you would have done further reading and employ the journal articles, right? And contemporary issues on the topic, right? In a critical analysis sort of manner, where you explore the issues and explore the factors in a deep, right, application manner, right? Giving the notion that you would have understand the assignment requirements, the topic, right, and the underlying issues, right? In addition to best practices in referencing academic writing, etc. So guys, this is your assignment brief, right? Your assignment brief, and I'm thinking this assignment is very doable based on our course outline. It is similar to our previous assignments gone by, right? So I'm thinking your examiner favored you in these trying times globally, right? So I think that's a plus for us, right? It is right about alley in terms of the learning outcomes previously considered and so forth. Yeah. So at this point in time, we go to our PowerPoint presentation, right? At this point in time, we go to our PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna message you guys. Yeah. Good. Message you guys. I'm just looking at managing participants, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to admit all. Right, so I have admitted all. So all should be here. All should be inside the session. I'm seeing 31. 31. Participants. Yeah, excellent. Good. Let's hope I can send you guys a message for some interaction. Mm-hmm. Mhm. Mhm. So I'm asking you guys to start your video. I'm trying to manage it on my end. Mhm. Great, great. I'm seeing some of you all. Hi, Jude. Yes, tell me. Yeah, I'm doing right now. Yes. Right. Right. No, right. Right. No, I started since about 1 o'clock there. They were in the waiting room. Some of them joined a bit late. So I now add all of them in the waiting from the waiting room to the meeting, right? So I have 31 participants in the meeting right now. Right, I'm seeing you. Right. What happens? The dialog box is only coming, right? Coming up on the screen. So I just admitted you. Right. Okay, good, good. Okay, so I've told you what, right? So I started still about one, right? I started since about 1 o'clock. So I have everyone, but I would like to see their videos. All right. To the right. Okay. Farah. Yeah, Farah is there. Yeah, Farah Supram, yeah. Crystal, yeah. I have no one in the waiting room. Have Ravi, yeah. Yeah, I now admitted Ravi. Right. Yeah, now admitted Raghunath. Right? Right. So everyone is here, right? Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm looking for a setting where I can see their videos as well too. That particular setting. I'm looking for that setting where I can do activate their videos here. Sure, we will chat. All right, guys. So that was Jude. So we thank Jude for giving us some support, as usual, giving us that technical support. I saw Ravi's also here. Welcome, Ravi. Good afternoon. We started since about 1. So we added all the students to the meeting. Some of them were in the waiting room and were waiting whilst I was teaching and so on. So we're now admitting others to the session. So we have about 32, 33 students, very strong. So guys, just to recap, we would have gone through the assignment requirements for assignment 2. So we have a pretty good idea of the assignment specifications and its makeup, right? And particular learn outcomes and the particular learn outcomes that will really ask us to review, right? In writing this individual essay, this 2,000 word individual essay. So in sharing my screen, I'm going to draw on our PowerPoint presentation, right? And this will be communicated to you, right? Communicated to you, right? Using Jude via email. So we would have gone through reviewing your coursework assignment number 2 for IHRM. Now we are entering our second outcome for today, starting preparation work for the assignment, right? To follow our third, understanding Malaysian context. Understanding Malaysian context. So just to quickly run through again, you are an independent HR consultant employed to advise the British MNC on what they need to consider in order to establish a subsidiary in Malaysia. You are expected to write a 2,000 word academic report. So you are going to assume the role of an independent HR consultant, right, to advise a British MNC. So you will note, right, you will note Now the MNC, a specific MNC was not provided to you in terms of you took GlaxoSmithKline or British Petroleum or British Airways, right? So it's a fictitious MNC. The nature of the MNC was not given, whether it's a manufacturing MNC or a service sector MNC, right? You are simply the HR consultant to advise this British MNC on what they need to consider in order to establish a subsidiary in Malaysia. So it is a new founded subsidiary. It's a new founded subsidiary in Malaysia, new startup in Malaysia. Now, they did not say if the startup was via a strategic alliance or joint venture with a Malaysian company. So I'm guessing this new subsidiary is wholly owned by the British MNC, right? So we just want to understand the parameters of the assignment title, right? You know, in a very granular manner. So, you know, in assuming our role as the HR consultant. The sub-questions linked to the assignment. Your assessment is individual in the form of a 2,000-word essay. I think we underscored that. You will need to consider what are the important factors multinational corporations have to consider when deciding the setting up of HR functions or HRM practices in different geographic locations internationally. What are the important factors? As we saw, you are required to discuss about 3 to 5 factors, rather than discuss about, 10 to 12 factors. As you explore the material, you would identify a lot of factors, but with the 2,000-word constraint, 3 to 5 would be sufficient. The command words in your assignment is critically analyzed. So some higher level of discussion, some deep analysis of these factors are expected, right? Which critically analyze which functions can be managed from headquarters and which functions, right, can be managed, right, can be local meaning, right? Local meaning human resource functions typical to the Malaysian context, right? And human resource functions managed from headquarters simply implies, right, parent company related human resource functions as that practice in the British MNC back home in Great Britain, right? As we would have said before, right? As we would have said before, right? As we would have said before, the MNC may have their own westernized style of HRM based on what works in Great Britain, right? But in Malaysia, because they are culturally determined society in terms of their cultural underpinnings and so forth, their style of HRM could be tainted by their cultural context. So over the years, Malaysia would have developed some best practice HRM functions in terms of what works in Malaysia, right? And these human resource functions may be similar to that, right, to that of the British MNC, or may not be similar to that practice to the British MNC. So this is why we need to critically analyze which functions can be managed. And then thirdly, provide rationale for your reasoning and the advantages of having a local focus in your chosen functions and the advantages of having a local focus in your chosen functions. If you move on, right, in terms of the slide share, right, if you move on, specific instructions, the coursework assignment has been designed to be as wide ranges as possible, right? Incorporating all aspects of the units in your IHRM course outline, right? Where students are expected to display their knowledge of cross-cultural issues, the role of expatriates, and the role of national managers, and the role of national managers. And I'm getting some feedback from Brian. Yeah. Great. quick facts. So your assignment title says personal analysis of a British MNC setting up a new founded subsidiary in Malaysia. So what do we know about Malaysia? Malaysia has a very strategic location in Southeast Asia. Strategic geographical location, right? Close neighbors with other Asian countries such as Singapore, Hong Kong, and China, right? And it is a vibrant business hub, right? Vibrant business hub. Malaysia has a limited quantum of natural resources. So what do they really export? They export their intellectual capacity. So you would find, in addition to a booming manufacturing sector, Malaysia has a booming service sector, and they export their intellectual capacity, right? So it's a vibrant business hub. Outside of that, as you do your research, you will quickly recognize that there's an influx of British MNCs. There's an influx of British companies operating in Malaysia. There's such a high number that there is a specific British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. There's a specific British Malaysia Chamber of Commerce to manage and govern the operations of all British multinationals operating in Malaysia. So that tells us very simply, right, what factors, right, what foreign direct incentives does Malaysia possess that would lure and attract British MNCs? That would lure and attract British MNCs in droves, right, to set up shop in Malaysia. What is so good about Malaysia that will attract an influx, a large quantum of British MNCs, to such an extent that there is a separate and specific British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce? Yep, a lot of food for thought there, guys. The World Bank ranked Malaysia as the 6th friendliest country in the world to do business. Friendliest country. So that rings a bell. That, you know, sends a lot of red flags to us. What is the international corporation tax rate for multinationals operating in Malaysia? Right? Is the tax rate low? Or is the international corporation tax rate low that will attract MNCs, multinationals, to set up shop in Malaysia? What is that rate? Is it 10%, 70%, 27%? Right? What is the cost of utility in terms of energy costs, electricity, water costs to attract multinationals to Malaysia? What is the intellectual capacity, right, of the citizenry in Malaysia? Are they educated or not? What is the portion of highly skilled workers to semi-skilled to lowly skilled workers in Malaysia? Right? Because these multinationals will want workers for their subsidiaries in Malaysia. Right? Malaysia has a well-developed infrastructure. Now, we can take that in so many ways. There can be physical infrastructure, road networks, billing infrastructure. It can also be digital and telecom infrastructure. So, as a well-developed infrastructure, Malaysia has a strong educated workforce, and English is widely used as a business language. Right? English is widely used as a business language. So, although the native tongue of Malaysia may not be necessarily English, right? English is widely used as a communications language for doing business. Malaysia has an excellent infrastructure system and transport connectivity, right? Although not first world, right, in general context, Malaysia is newly developing, right? It's not a turbo economy, right? It's a bit higher than that, newly developing, right? So a lot of, you know, quick insights about the Malaysian context. Remember, it is a new founded subsidiary going to set up shop in Malaysia. You're required to do a pestle analysis, right? A pestle analysis of a British MNC setting up a newly founded subsidiary in Malaysia. At this point in time, I would like to share with you a sample online resource of a pestle analysis of Malaysia. Right, you guys maybe see my screen, right? Right, pestle analysis of Malaysia, a sample pestle analysis, although outdated, right? Yet although outdated, 3 to 4 years old, right? But it still gives us a lot of backdrop of the Malaysian business context, right? Using the pestle analysis tool, and you will be aware of the strategic tool pestle analysis that looks at the external environment of a particular country, in this case, Malaysia, in terms of political factors, economic factors, social factors, technological factors, legal factors, and environmental factors. Political factors, right? Malaysia consists of a series of islands, and the largest of them all is shared by Malaysia along with 2 neighboring countries. Their exports mainly composed of oil and electronic equipment, so a booming manufacturing sector, as we see here. The official religion is Islam, but there's a lot of ethnic minorities, which includes Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Right? Many international brands outsource their manufacturing units to Malaysia. So Malaysia, right, there are Malaysian manufacturers sort of manufacturing subcontractors to to other manufacturers outside of Malaysia. So if an elevator company or electronics company or a computer company is seeking subcontractors, right, to produce subcomponents and so on, they can typically go to Malaysian subcontractor manufacturers, right, for their various activities. Interestingly, the world's largest cave is Malaysia. Not really relevant. Is in Malaysia, not directly relevant. Political factors. Just as ethnical divide the country is, the country's politics follow the same suit, right? In terms, and they give some backdrop here in terms of the 2 major political parties, right? In Malaysia, obviously, the political regime at the time will influence economic policy, trading policy, entry policies, foreign direct policy, right, and multinational operations, right, in the Malaysian, right, business environment. Economic factors. It is the 3rd richest country in the region, the Southeast region, right? GDP estimated per person around 11,000 2014, which is pretty much current. However, like all other economies, they are heavily reliant on China for their exports. So a lot of the manufacturing items produced out of Malaysia are exported to China, right? Consider what's happening in terms of COVID-19 and trade relations between China and other countries of the world. Global oil price fluctuations have hurt the economy since it was the major export, right? And also the Malaysian labor force is deemed expensive, right, as compared to their counterparts, right? So that suggests us there's a volume of highly skilled labor in Malaysia, as well as semi-skilled and low-skilled labor.
Right? Excuse me, Nigel.
Sure. Hi.
Hi, we're actually not seeing the pastel analysis. We're only seeing the quick fact slide.
Okay, so all right. I'm going to try to share this quick pastel analysis with you all.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Good. So, right, are we seeing the personal analysis?
Yes, we're actually seeing it now. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Right? So I'm actually typing up on the Zoom group chat. Hi guys, thanks for joining. Send me some thoughts on your assignment. Right? And that you guys are always WhatsApping and texting, right, on your phone during class time. Should not be any different for you guys to send me some text feedback on the assignment. I really see the excitement here. Lots of love from Bridget. This is very super stuff. On your oh folks, you guys not easy at all. True to form. On your assignment, not so guys. We are impressed. Right? Kristen Ganga, Lavon Whiteman, Lively. Great, great. So entire gang is here, all 41 of you. Not so guys. You guys don't share much. Right? Send me some thoughts on your assignment. So your assignment is predictable, not so. It's not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm very excited by it. And I know all of this excitement is in a one-way street. It's like a one-way street where it only flows in one direction. So let's continue. It's always important to manage participants, manage your house, as we say. You know, just a lady team. I will have my coffee close to my right hand. So I know it's the first session, online session for international human resource management. Yeah, a lot of software tools that we can use. Zoom is one of the better ones. So there will be a learning curve, but the second, third sessions we should be up and running. Also means we can have an extra session or two to guide the team on the assignment. So thanks for your patience. Thanks for the conversion from face-to-face to virtual online learning. I think was well received. The entire gang is here, right? And we can all do it from the convenience of our homes. And the support can be much more timely and much more relevant as well too when we use online methods. So I'm thinking we are in the right direction while working hard and smart for our April 29th submission for this assignment. Yeah. So whatever materials I would have used during this assignment, I will make sure during this presentation, I will make sure to forward it to you guys, you know, using Joule via email. Right, so let's go back to economic factors. Economic factors. So Malaysian currency has devalued against the dollar to this extent for the first time. Global oil price fluctuations and so on. Look at the inflation rate. Look at the general income taxation rate for individual citizens. The corporation tax rate for corporations, multinationals operating. The price of inflation, the price per oil per barrel. Look at the major exports. Right? Social factors. Malaysia has experienced years of economic growth and development with dynamic leadership, where government will target policies encourage urbanization. Social issues such as poverty, unemployment, exploitation of workers by large corporations don't exist in Malaysia. And I would like to underscore that. Social issues such as poverty, unemployment, and exploitation of workers by large corporations do not exist. So is that telling us that the the employment legislation in Malaysia is strong, right? Worker-centric, preventing employers and multinationals from exploiting workers? It tells us quite a lot. It tells us that the state is, one of the sole purpose of the state is to guarantee the social welfare of their citizens. However, Racial discrimination because of the ethnic minorities residing in Malaysia. Racial discrimination contexts are getting worse with the passage of time, right? There's a mixture of Hindus and Muslims and Christians and Catholics and Buddhists, right? Based on the ethnic, right, makeup of the population, right? Technological factors, major firms in the world have outsourced their manufacturing in Malaysia because of its well-established infrastructure, right? So they have outsourced their manufacturing to Malaysian manufacturers because of the educated workforce, the high technological capacity, right? All right, right, the low corporation tax. So all of these ideas make up foreign direct incentives, right, in Malaysia, which have served to attract multinationals to Malaysia, right, for business, right, for business. Environmental factors. Environmental factors. The environment of Malaysia is deeply impacted by deforestation and pollution. So Malaysia is simply collapsing their fauna and flora and so on by practicing active deforestation. They are moving towards urbanization, the erection of buildings, road infrastructure, telecom infrastructure, power infrastructure, right? But they are also exporters in addition to oil and intellectual capacity, as we see here. Is also a huge exporter of tropical wood and palm oil. Tropical wood and palm oil. Logging is still carried out and so on, right? Although on paper they have the best rainforest protection policies, air pollution has spiraled and so on in terms of environmental. Legal factors. Malaysia now has been influenced by Great Britain. That tells us quite a lot. So similar forms of employment legislation, right, may exist in Malaysia, similar to that of Great Britain. It tells us, is Malaysia part of the Commonwealth of Great Britain? Yeah, right? It tells us what is the historical underpinning of Britain and Malaysia. It also tells us, could this explain why there is an influx of British multinationals operating in Malaysia? Right? So it tells us quite a lot, right, in terms of that statement. Malaysian law has been influenced by Great Britain. Okay, guys? So I just want to go back. So this is a version of the pestle analysis, a general pestle analysis for Malaysia. But I just want to go back to the PowerPoint, right? The PowerPoint, right? And the assignment brief says that you are required to do a pestle analysis. You are required to do a pestle analysis. A pestle analysis. If you just go back to the PowerPoint and the assignment brief, you are required to do a pestle analysis for a British MNC establishing a subsidiary in Malaysia. So you have to do the pestle analysis not for the general Malaysian economy, right? But you are required to formulate and design a pestle analysis for a British MNC setting up a subsidiary in Malaysia. And I would like to underscore that. Setting up a British MNC, setting up a new founded subsidiary in Malaysia for the first time. So your pestle analysis is to be skewed towards that outcome. I would like to reiterate, right? Your pestle analysis is to be skewed towards the outcome of setting up a British embassy, setting up a new founded subsidiary in Malaysia. Yeah? I can feel the excitement there, guys. So I'm going back to my coursework presentation. Going back to my coursework presentation. Just to ensure that, right, everyone is on the coursework presentation, right? So let's jump straight into it. Assignment topic. Assignment topic. As we look at the assignment, we have to investigate and determine what IHRM topic is being discussed here? IHRM topic is being discussed here. IHRM topic. Right? British MNC seeking to set up a new founded subsidiary in Malaysia. Right? Discuss what factors that will influence whether the subsidiary will use British-based human resource functions or Malaysian-based human resource functions. This gives notion to the topic, a topic that we have alluded to in class, the standardization of international HRM practices by MNCs versus the localization of international human resource practices by MNCs. So standardization of international human resource practices by MNCs or localization of human resource practices by MNCs. So you might be thinking of what this man's speaking about. Standardization versus localization. Let's go into it. Right? Standardization of human resource practices. Standardization is simply of human resource practice simply says that the new subsidiary in Malaysia should use the same style, the same form, the same type of human resource functions practiced back home in the company headquarters of Great Britain. So that will make you now think that the new founded subsidiary will eventually use British-based, parent company-based human resource practices as that of Great Britain. And so saying, Great Britain now and company headquarters in Great Britain will want to transfer their westernized British-based human resource functions to the new subsidiary when established in the Malaysian context. So HRM functions will be consistent between the parent company back home in Great Britain, right, and the new subsidiary to be established in Malaysia. So it can be seen as a rational management initiative by MNCs to transfer their practices to international operations, right, with the belief that the subsidiary will perform as good or even better than parent company headquarters. Now we have to investigate the reasons and underlying rationales why an MNC may choose to standardize. Right? Now if we move down a bit further, why would a company want to standardize? As we see here, consistency, transparency, easier administration, right? Parental control. If the subsidiary has the same form factor and uses the same human resource functions as that practiced by the British subsidiary, but by the British parent company, you will find that the subsidiary eventually behaves like the parent. So think of the subsidiary as a child, right? Think of the parent company in Great Britain as the parent, right? Once the child, the subsidiary, is dependent on the parent for resources, the child will adopt behaviors similar to that of the parent. The child will inherit characteristics just like the parent. Why? Because the new subsidiary, being very new, novel, in Malaysia, will be highly dependent upon the parent company. By extension, if the British subsidiary has if the British company has subsidiaries scattered all over the world, right? Then you will want all the subsidiaries, right, to be using the same British-based HRM functions. Why? For easier administration, easier control, sense of equity, for economic reasons as well, for greater transparency, right? So these are some, ideas why multinationals may choose to standardize their HRM functions. But again, we need to research and harp upon what factors would encourage a company, a British MNC, in this case, to standardize, right? To standardize, right? To standardize. To standardize. Yeah? Let's go into localization. The localization of international human resource practices. Localization. What do we mean by localization, by the team localization of international human resource practices? Conversely, the British MNC may say that some of our British-based human resource functions may not work in this new subsidiary in Malaysia. There are particular human resource functions that are suited to the Malaysian context. There are particular Malaysian-based human resource functions that is properly well suited to the Malaysian context. And if we use these Malaysian-based human resource functions, our new founded subsidiary is more likely to be successful in Malaysia. So, the parent company in Great Britain gives the subsidiary the autonomy, the independence to use Malaysian-based human resource functions in Malaysia. What are some factors that will encourage this? Right? What are some factors that will encourage the subsidiary to use Malaysian-based or Malaysian context human resource function? Some of the factors could be cultural factors as well as institutional factors. And I want you all to write down somewhere, right? Write down for me somewhere, a bold type if you can, right? Institutional and cultural factors. Cultural and institutional factors. And that should click. That should click. Because you are being asked to discuss the factors that will encourage the standardization of human resource functions, or the factors that will encourage the localization of human resource functions in Malaysia. So in other words, with the localization of HRM practices, right, the subsidiary will be allowed to use some Malaysian-based human resource functions that suits the Malaysian economy, which might be different too, which will be dissimilar with the human resource functions practice in Great Britain, in the parent company. So in starting this assignment, it's important, guys, in starting this assignment, it's important to understand the theoretical foundation of the topic, the standardization versus localization of HRM. That's important. It's important, right? So I'm going to ask the question in the chat, right? In the chat. I'm going to send a message. Do we understand what is meant by these two terms? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to unmute. A faster way of doing this is unmuting all. Hey guys, do you understand the nature of the assignment? A lot of feedback. Do you understand the nature of the assignment?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Are you awakened?
I'm in the kitchen and I'm trying to do something. Lexi, squeeze.
Very good. So Brandon. Brandon? Beverly?
Yes, sir.
Right. Do you understand the assignment?
Yes, sir.
Good. Oh, very good. All is well otherwise?
So far.
Oh, very good. Very good. So I'm going to pick on you guys to give me some feedback. Bridget. Hi, Bridget.
Hey, you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes.
I think I'll wait till you finish the presentation before I ask any premature questions.
Okay, you can go right ahead, you know, if you want to ask one time.
Okay, well, all right, the assignment is do a personal analysis, right? For British multinational entering into Malaysia. So if you look at the tier brief for individual group assessment, where you have the 3 pointers, I don't know if you're seeing that. The first one is what are the important factors multinationals have to consider, etc., right? Which are the pestle factors that they're talking about, correct?
Not necessarily pestle factors. As we go through the material, I will explain the factors that they're asking about as the factors which would encourage standardization and the factors which will encourage localization.
Okay, and are you writing based on what do you choose? So are you choosing standardization or localization or?
Right. So no, you are discussing both standardization as well as localization. So
I see.
So I'm going through the assignment brief here, going through the content, and then we'll look at the assignment brief again, and then show you how to shape up the actual academic report.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Right. So we're going to go through it board by board. So the first thing is to understand the technical content for the topic, to understand the topic. Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Right, so you can mute your microphone so we won't get any feedback. Hi, Jude. Any questions on the assignment? Jude? Hi, Jude.
No questions on my end.
Okay, no questions on your end. Very good, very good. So I'm picking on you one at a time to ensure that you are not sleeping. It's really cool, folks, right? Using Zoom as the sessions progress, right? We are going to flatten the learning curve with the software, right? But I really want to thank you all again for making this seamless migration onto this virtual learning environment, considering I think it has the potential for greater student support when compared to our face-to-face classroom, right? And it's quite swanky and contemporary. Sparkle, any questions on your assignment? Sparkle, any questions on your assignment? Tasha, any questions on your assignment? Okay, good. No questions. I'm also looking at the message center as well too, right? Seeing a lot of the message center, the chat, right? Please type the feedback is loud. Oh, very good. Don't know if you heard me. Feedback is loud. Yes, yes. I reside close to the highway, right? So you might get some feedback from from commuters on the highway and so forth. Quite breezy and windy as well too. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. I also hear the neighbors duck or fowl and so on, making some songs. This afternoon I will deal with them. All right, guys. So let's head back towards the presentation now. Again, the presentation, all materials reviewed will be submitted to you all right, via email using Drew. So we are heading back. So we have a firm understanding of standardization versus localization. What are the particular human resource functions or practices are we speaking about for this assignment? If it's a new founded subsidiary, right, then definitely one of the first HRM functions that we must discuss, right, that we must discuss, right, is the recruitment and selection function. The recruitment, right, the recruitment and selection function. One of the first functions that we must discuss, right, is the recruitment and selection function as the primary function that we are going to use to hire staff, right, to hire staff. Are we going to use parent company nationals, British nationals to staff the Malaysian subsidiary? And that might prove rather expensive for admin staff and middle level staff. Senior staff, executive managers of the subsidiary, right? Executive managers of the subsidiary might be more British expats, so ethnocentric, right? For lower level staff, you may want to use a polycentric or local staffing approach, where local Malaysians are used. The nature of performance appraisals, right? What is the rationale for performance appraisals? Are they judgmental? Are they developmental? What, right, appraisal criteria are we going to include? How are we going to appraise staff? Right? How are we going to train and develop staff as well too in the Malaysian context, right? How are we going to train and develop expatriates? How are we going to train and develop admin staff, middle level staff, right? Middle level staff. What is the nature of the education system in Great Britain? The nature of the education system in Malaysia? Is Malaysia more theoretical and Great Britain more practical? That may not order well. So we have to examine the educational sector and how it influence training and development in terms of training strategies used. The nature of compensation systems. What is the currency gap between Malaysia and Great Britain? What is the currency gap, right? What payment systems are we going to use for expatriates? Are we going to use British pounds or Malaysian currency for expatriates? Right? What about issues of taxation? Well, expatriates have to pay British tax as well as Malaysian tax in terms of taxation, dual taxation, compensation systems. How will staff be promoted in a new subsidiary? How will staff be promoted in a new subsidiary? So all these are, issues. The nature of industrial relations and collective bargaining. What's the size of the potential workforce in a new subsidiary? Eventually, will these workers will seek registration, right, with the trade union in Malaysia for worker representation, right? How will the British MNC feel about workers joining a worker council, joining a trade union in Malaysian context for worker representation? So all of these are some issues that we must consider. In going back to standardization, localization, why would a new subsidiary use local or Malaysian-based HRM functions in Malaysia? Why? Why? Right? These are some reasons. Respect for local culture and traditions. Respect for local culture and traditions. What is the cultural underpinnings of the Malaysian people? And to what extent does culture dictate and influence human resource functions? Right? What is the nature of the business system in Malaysia in terms of HR legislation? in terms of corporation tax. How competitive are Malaysian companies operating in the Malaysian domestic market? How competitive are they? What synergy and alliances are formed between suppliers and manufacturers and wholesalers, and doing business in Malaysia? So in the business system, the closeness between traders, the closeness between business entities, right? Labor laws in Malaysia, government policies, all of these ideas make up, institutional factors. What's the nature of educational system, right, in Malaysia? How far advanced is it? How far different is it compared to a British MNC? What are some standard workplace practices, right? There's a siesta practice. Do they allow a 5-day work week? How many hours are in the work week? Right? How many hours are in the work week? So all of these are some reasons why the new founded subsidiary may want to use Malaysian-based, host-country-based human resource functions, and not necessarily British-based human resource functions, right? So let's look at factors which encourage businesses to manage IHRM functions in their international locations from their headquarters. Factors which encourage businesses to manage IHRM functions in their international locations from their headquarters. So this is a case for standardization. Standardization, again, I would like to repeat, right, is where the new foreign subsidiary will use the same human resource functions as those practiced in the parent company in Great Britain. So the subsidiary and the parent company will use the same style of human resource functions. Why? Right? One possible grouping of factors you can discuss is parent company related factors, right? The method of founding can be wholly owned rather than joint venture or strategic alliance. So the British MNC wholly owns, W-H-O-L-L-Y, wholly owns the subsidiary in Malaysia. So if it is wholly owned, then they have the freedom, the independence to decide what style of human resource function should be used, right? Method of founding. How dependent is a new founded subsidiary on the parent company for resources like financial resources, physical resources, manpower resources? And these are 2 or 3 issues under parent company related factors. At the end of the day, the parent company back home in Great Britain has a say whether to standardize HRM functions or localize, right? So that decision of whether to standardize or localize in Malaysia is a strategic decision. Please mention that word. It's a strategic decision for the company to decide whether to standardize or localize. It is a strategic decision. And I just use the opportunity there to drink some coffee. As we move on to method of founding, is it wholly owned or joint venture arrangement? Right? So all these are factors which will encourage finalization. Economic factors as well too. Economies of scale, right? Foreign direct incentives, sustainability and risk reduction. Now, if British MNC might be a bit reluctant to allow the subsidiary to use Malaysian human resource functions for the fear of the unknown, for the fear that the human resource functions in Malaysia may not produce the sort of profit results the company expects, right? So in the spirit of sustainability and viability of the new founded subsidiary, in that spirit, right? The company may want to standardize. The company, right? The company, right? May want to standardize, right? Standardize their human resource function. May want to standardize their human resource functions in that spirit. In terms of purchasing and procurement, if there are more than one subsidiaries scattered all over the world, when you undertake procurement, you can pursue a central procurement. So when you procure for one subsidiary, you procure for all subsidiaries. So the company will be able to benefit from economies of scale. Company will be able to benefit from economies of scale. Economies of scale. Yeah. What foreign direct incentives the Malaysian government would have given British operators, the British MNC, to set up shop that will encourage now the MNC to standardize. So the British MNC may say, you know, I'm going to set up shop in Malaysian context, you know, but you have to give me that autonomy to use my parent company related human resource functions because that works for me right now back home in Great Britain. Back home in Great Britain. So at this point in time, if you guys could remember, could recollect Vinod Score's business strategy and the model Porter's diamond model, you will recall that a firm may decide to export their products and services after exploiting their domestic market. Look at US Coca-Cola and US Levi's. US Coca-Cola and US Levi's would have conquered the North American market for the past 20, 30 years, and they would have acquired and honed certain best practices that allow them to operate competitively in the international market. So when you have conquered your domestic market, the competencies and best practices you would have acquired now gives you that courage now to operate and export internationally, right? So you will want to use, you know, your parent company business practices because you know that they would have worked and would have proven successful in your parent company. So it makes sense, right? It makes sense to use parent company related practices. As we move on, right? Consider MNCs entering a developing nation to do foreign direct incentives. MNCs may bring to the Malaysian economy, right, employment, right? It will increase employment in the Malaysian economy in terms of foreign direct incentives. The British MNC may bring to the Malaysian context skills, technology know-how, software, intellectual capacity to empower the Malaysian people, right? Apart from the corporation tax that the British MNC will have to pay the Malaysian government, the British MNC will now encourage, right, infrastructure development, manpower infrastructure, technological infrastructure, road infrastructure, in addition to greater revenue to the state, the Malaysian state that is. So all of these are some FDIs, FDIs, foreign direct investment incentives that the Malaysian government may offer the British MNC to locate and set up shop in the Malaysian backyard, so to speak, so to speak. Yeah, so to speak. If we look at factors which can encourage localization of IHRM practices by MNCs, factors which encourage the localization of IHRM practices by MNCs, you would see there are cultural forces in Malaysia which will encourage Malaysian-based human resource practices. There may be particular legal requirements, right, that will force the British MNC to use Malaysian human resource functions, competitive pressures in the host country being Malaysia, right? The host country would be Malaysia, competitive pressures in the host country being Malaysia, right? There are particular state regulators, right? Right? Particular state regulation, sorry, in the Malaysian context that will encourage local Malaysian-based human resource legislation, nature of education system, institutional factors. We spoke about institutional theory, right? A couple of weeks ago, right? And the strength of social networks and the strength of social networks and so on that will influence business, that will influence business. So what we have done today, we have gone through the assignment specification, one. We would have started detailed discussions on the nature of the assignment, the scope of the assignment, right? The topic for the assignment, which is standardization versus localization of HRM functions, right? Through the assignment, we have gone through a quick tested analysis of the Malaysian economy, not a general economy. I would like to remind you, you have to do a personal analysis of the British MNC establishing a new foreign subsidiary in Malaysia, right? So next week now, we are going to explore the particular factors which will encourage standardization and localization, as well as the putting together, the framing of the academic report in assuming your role as HR consultant. In assuming your role as HR consultant, right? In assuming your role, guys, as HR consultant. So at this point in time, I'm going to go back to my tab, managing participants, right? And be asking you all for some feedback, right? Right? Good. I want to mute.
You telling me? Zaki,
Let's go to this.
Zaki, come on.
Right, I had on the span just now.
And Chen Fan coming on, right?
Brush your teeth.
Right.
You brush your teeth. You wash your hand.
Wash your
Then
hands,
I
brush
get up.
your teeth, etc.
You tell him,
Yes, you all can.
I have in class now, so
You in
that
class
talk
now?
is not.
Right.
Yes.
Remember, any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, my dear. Yes, tell me the question. Charlotte, any questions, sir?
Not yet, not yet.
Right. All right. Do you understand the assignment requirements?
Yeah, I understand the requirements.
I typed and say let students type their question because the token is annoying.
Okay. Yeah, so you understand the assignment requirements. Good. Right. Good. Good. So I'm going through tasks. Assignments.
I hearing shit. And I hearing shit.
Is that
Not hearing?
Click on this small again.
Nope. What? Wait, that's been second to later. Yeah, check it out. Want me to talk, huh? OMG. This is really annoying.
Yeah. I'll message me. He said, hey, hope everything is okay with you and you're taking the necessary precautions. I don't know, just I don't want to exhale from it. I hope.
Where you can put that? I
don't want no pizza.
Nigel, you are muted. We are not hearing you at all.
Right, good. So I just unmute myself again. So I'd like to thank you folks for making the time out this afternoon to participate in this session this afternoon. Considering what's happening globally as well as nationally, I would like to encourage you and your respective families and so on to adhere to all the precautions associated with COVID-19. The number of cases has increased phenomenally locally. So I'm thinking that it might get a bit worse before it can get better. Right, with proper precautionary measures and so on, I know that we can prevent the spread of COVID-19 at a local level, right? Thanks for making time yet again. I would like to thank the management and staff of CTS, Jude Bernard, Program Manager, the Director, the entire executive team, management team, admin team, for giving us the training, the support, zooming in on the discussions here and so on to give us that support. So Jude, Ravi, thank you folks very much.
No problem at all. Pleasure is mine.
Right,
no problem.
Right. Yes, Jude, thanks for that. I'm going to stop the video now. So folks, next Saturday we are on as usual. All material shared. I'm going to forward it to Jude via email in the coming day or two. Give him some time. He's from these days, right? He's going to email the material to you folks, right? I particularly like your online approach. We can be a bit more student-centric, a bit more timely, a bit more focused. So all is well, right? So I'm going to stop the recording. So have a pleasant afternoon. And hopefully we're going to have a much more seamless online approach next week. But I think today we went relatively fairly well. Thanks for the support, guys, and all the best.
Sir, before you go,
yes,
can you give us an idea when you'd want to review our assignments?
I would say in about 3 weeks' time. I'm going to give you a time interval to send the assignment, considering what is happening, locally. I know that will challenge your logistics, your home front issues, and so on. So in about 3 weeks' time, I'm going to give you a week interval to submit to me, right, for a review. So in other words, I'm going to be a bit flexible in terms of when you can send me an assignment for review. But not too flexible and not too late because it's an individual assignment, right? But great questions sparkle. Yeah?
Great. Thanks, sir.
You're very welcome. So guys.
Hi, Nigel.
Yes?
Before you go, is there any specific structure that we have to follow and we'll be guided by? Or?
Yes, you will be guided by a particular structure. Come to class next week, right? And
okay.
I'll give you guys a specific structure. And the slides I'm going to send for you all as well. you will have a specific structure. And it's
Alright,
Okay,
sent to you,
great.
right?
Thank you.
Right, so I'm going to
Thank
go
you.
through and so on. But before we can go to the structure, we need to understand the technical content associated. So I spent time today looking at the assignment requirements, starting works on the technical content, understanding the core issues, and only then we can seek to frame up the assignment.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Jude.
You're very welcome. Thanks all. Good afternoon.